So I made a racing game. The first thing I did was to, of course, open up a new Unity project, and then I added a ground in there. So let's make a car, shall we? And it's not supposed to do that. No, not that either. And after a while of coding later, it still didn't work. So after hours and hours of not getting the driving to work, I just gave up and borrowed an asset from the asset store, and it works well now. Look at that sick drift. And then I remembered this is supposed to be a multiplayer game. And then I realized that I haven't done any networking before, so I looked up how to do that, and stumbled across this series by Dapper Dino. I'm gonna be using Mirror for the networking here because he used that as well. And there we go. First multiplayer test in my game. The skid marks are a little broken, but we can ignore that for now. But what's the point of a racing game if there's nothing to race on? So I modeled up a quick track in Blender by making a path and a plane following the path with an array and a curve modifier. Then I painted the terrain around the track and then added some details. I imported that over into Unity and then played around with some clients on the map because I don't actually have any friends to play with. And while I was taking a break by playing some other racing games, I realized that this map kind of sucks. So getting back into Blender, I made an actually good map with the same method I used to make the first one. Then I added a quick UI to connect to a server and to host one yourself. And also a little countdown before the match starts. But currently there's no point to the game as there's no win condition. So I drew up a quick finish line and put it into the game. And when you go through it, it shows up the name of the player who won. Oh, and did I mention I added name tags? They took me way too long to figure out, but they work now. Mostly. Okay, maybe not. Then I made the second map, which is a mountain pass. I added a shrink wrap modifier to the road to make it stick down to the ground. Then with Blender's particle system, added some trees. And then I made a little shader which makes it so that lower terrain is green and higher terrain is grey, to make it look more like mountains. Next up, third track, which is just a road in a field, and I used Unity's terrain system to add in some grass. And it looks kind of nice. And then finally the fifth level, which is just a huge mountain, even bigger than my will to live. But then this dinky little car is starting to look a bit boring. And would you look at that, these models just keep begging for me to borrow them. I added the car into the game. It looks pretty good, and I then added a few more cars with a nice select screen to top it off. And then a main menu so you can actually play the game, which is, you know, pretty important. And I've got the car models to sync up across clients, which but beware though, because to actually get the multiplayer to work online, you'll need to port forward the server, and half of you probably don't even know what that is. So it only works across LAN currently, and you can find the link to download the game in the description. Also, I have a Discord server now, so please join because it's emptier than my brain right now.